Hey everybody, just let's make sure I am live here. Yes, I am live. Hey everybody, just checking in from the deck. Just want to give you all a quick update. Not walking around the garden like yesterday. Some people thought it was bouncing around a little bit too much. But just want to give a quick update to everybody on the news today. First of all, the inflation. I've been talking about inflation since the beginning of the year and saying it was going to be 7% to 15% per year for the next 10 years. As it turns out, we had 5% in a month. The US inflation is the highest it has been in 13 years. Think about that. And obviously, if anybody goes out to the store, goes to buy a second-hand vehicle, goes to buy a piece of wood, you'll get some severe sticker shock. That's what's going down right now. There's been a huge surge in demand, and there's a massive shortage of materials, labor, everything else. So inflation is here. This is, again, a big feather in the cap of Bitcoin. Let's talk a little bit about Tim Draper. As you guys know, I'm a big Tim Draper fan. And basically, he said crypto disruption is coming massively, was the word he used, which is, I like to use the word massive quite a lot too. He said 4 industries, 1, 2, 3, 4, are going to be massively disrupted. They will be things like finance, insurance, the government, and healthcare. Now, why did he say the government? Obviously, it was kind of interesting, his thesis. It's basically the government is technically, as far as he is concerned, a bunch of insurance companies put together. Think of government-supplied healthcare, employment insurance, unemployment insurance, welfare, pensions, social security, all these different types of things. All of these can be configured on the blockchain. That's why he, all of a sudden, is very bullish on DeFi, and I have been from the beginning of time. Great news. Well done, Tim Draper. So, again, if one of the best venture capitalists on earth is bullish on this space, you can be sure it's a good place to be. So, a little bit of FUD time. We have Elizabeth Warren coming in. She's a former presidential candidate and a U.S. senator. She basically decided, you know what? Cryptocurrency is a lousy investment and believes it does not offer the average American a safe alternative to big banks. Okay, let's examine that for a second. Big banks pay you 0. You can make 20% overnight in crypto stuff. Granted, crypto is very dangerous, very speculative, very volatile, yes. But, you know, she said it's a 4th-rate investment, which I don't really agree with. And she also said something like the words that people just should not have it part of their portfolios. Now, that being said, I personally got big into things like Bitcoin in 2018, watching it since 2017, and got really big into it early last year after the C19 crash. Same thing with Ethereum. I have Ethereum at an average of about $200 a token. And she thinks it's a lousy investment? No, it's a life-changing investment. So Elizabeth, I thought you would have the side of the average person, helping people really gain financial freedom. People who wouldn't otherwise have a chance. Do you think the big banks are going to give you a chance? No. So, sorry Elizabeth, I remember your presidential campaign, you always said you had a plan for that, a plan for this, a plan for that, etc. I think you need to read up on what cryptocurrency is. And yes, there's a lot of scam coins, and 95% will go to 0. But some of them, if you pick the right ones, can be very life-changing. So, in other news as well, the CEO and co-founder of hedge fund Arrington Capital Group, I think it is, his name is Marc Lasry, regrets one major mistake he made in Bitcoin. Very honest of him to say, I screwed up big time. And it's funny, his quote was, I didn't buy enough when it was low. And he's worth about $2 billion. And he just wishes he bought more. So that's kind of funny for him to come out and openly admit that. Okay, now in other news, there was an interesting analyst called Dave the Wave. And he came out and said he has identified resistance level of Bitcoin around 42,000, which is true. But he spotlights key areas of support for Bitcoin to hold on to at 33,000, 27,000, 20,000, and then 16,000. So pretty much he's covered the entire spectrum all the way down to about 40% of its value today. And you know the old saying, a broken clock is right twice a day type of thing. I think Dave the Wave has some issues, but to give that type of pessimistic advice to people is kind of scary. And to have such a broad range. Hey, you could go to 42,000 and go all the way down to 16,000 and everywhere else between. I mean, what type of advice is that? And just be careful what you read. People like that, they used to know what they were doing. I don't know what they're saying right now. And that is the vaguest garbage I've ever seen in my life. So no offense, Dave the Wave, but be careful what you say out there. You might deter people from investing in Bitcoin or selling their positions. So stock market news, a lot of questions regarding, should I short the S&P 500? So it set another new record today, and the stock market dismissed the crazy inflation news. Normally when inflation is high, the stock market goes down, but the stock market obviously had it factored in, just like we had since the beginning of the year. We knew it was coming, so it's a nothing burger. Now the Dow Jones went up, Nasdaq technology went up nearly 1%, which is great. I see the S&P 500 going to about $4,500, and that'll be the time to think about maybe taking some money off the table from equities. But bear in mind, there's so much quantitative easing and there's so much money sloshing around in the market, it has to go into the stock market. You're not going to leave it in the bank debasing. So that's the stock market news. Now, related to that, there's a couple of stocks that we like very much. First of all, Mike Novograd's shop, his GLXY Digital, was upgraded by BTIG to a buy rating with a target of 31 Canadian. It was trading at about 16 or 17 Canadian a few days ago. I think about 20 to 22 Canadian today. And their target is 31 Canadian. So that's very, very bullish news for them to be picked up like that and given a strong buy rating. And related to that, another Canadian company, HUT8 Mining, was up 25% today on a Nasdaq listing. We were discussing this on Discord this morning, that it was a great time to buy. I originally made my first mining video on HUT8 way back when it was about 5 Canadian. This morning when we were discussing it was around $5.60, $5.80, and now it's shot up to, 6 Canadian and change. So definitely a good one for the future. I really, really like the management team of that company. And I like the way they hold a lot of Bitcoin treasuries on their balance sheet. Now another good Bitcoin news, and it's not El Salvador yet, but the Bank for International Settlements, the Basel Committee, that helps manage things like liquidity and risk for large institutions, they basically said they placed a lot of much needed rules around banks being able to hold various cryptocurrencies and the liquidity and margin requirements for those. So that was actually a positive piece, where basically they didn't say you can't hold them, but they can actually give you credit for holding them on a balance sheet. So that was good news. In other news as well, another token I'm a big fan of is Algorand. Arrington Capital launched a $100 million Algorand Ecosystem Fund, looking to build out, again, related to Tim Draper in the DeFi space. They placed a $100 million fund together to really support Algorand projects and coins. Now, obviously, Algorand, the reason I like it so much is it's a key player in the whole DeFi, the decentralized finance world. And some people call it an arms race. So the future is very bright for the space, and a lot of money is going into it. Just like the $350 million, I think, yesterday for Solana. So, again, bullish news. In more Bitcoin bullish news, have we bottomed yet? Willy Woo came out with the super bullish indicator. Well, and basically, he's seen a lot of money go into stable coins sitting on the sidelines. And typically, when all these stable coins start piling up on the sidelines, they are there waiting for the moment to unleash and go straight back into things like Bitcoin. So he says every time this happens, it's a very, very bullish sign, and it's a sign we've bottomed. So all the powder, all the dry powder is on the sidelines, ready to jump in the form of stablecoins. So another fun news, you've got Spencer Schiff, the son of Peter Schiff, who's trolling his father online. He said Bitcoin is a bargain at any price under $10 million. I thought that was hilarious and funny. In other technical kind of indications, things that we see, there was a long-short ratio on Binance, which has been an incredible bottom signal throughout this whole bull market with a 100% hit rate so far. And the ratio is pristine right now, which is good. And finally, this is another piece of kind of good news. As we know, prices of things are skyrocketing, tied into inflation. But Jimmy Song said if you have a scarce item like lumber or a secondhand car, a house in a desirable zip code, all that type of stuff, you could demand to get paid in Bitcoin. I was here looking at a house yesterday, and it was a complete dump. 3 bedrooms, $17.5 million. So that's where we are. It's just interesting market. Everything is expensive, way overvalued. But I'm sure if you walked up there and handed them a bag of Bitcoin, they'd say, sure, we'll take it. Anyway, signing off for now. Everybody be careful. See you tomorrow. Bye.